Okay, hello everybody. Thank you very much for being there. Welcome to our second lesson today. Let me check, please, that everything is working well. Remember, I had a couple of issues last time when I wanted to go live at 11 a.m. And I uh, carried out the whole class and I realized that I was not going live at all. So let me just check that everything is working well. I will ask you to tell me in the chat if you can see me, if you can hear me, because I think there's a kind of delay in here. So let's check it out. Hold on a second. Yes, apparently everything there is working. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Maxi, for being there. Okay, hi, Pablo. Perfect. Okay. Sorry about the issue last time. If you happened to have joined the meeting, I'm still quite new with all these gadgets and programs and YouTube and everything. But apparently, hi, Rodrigo. Hi, Flor. Thank you. Okay, so this time everything is working well. Okay, in today's lesson, we're going to work on something related to pronunciation, and we're going to see how that can help you become more fluent in English. I don't know if you have ever heard about connected speech techniques. I'm sure that some of my students already know about it because I tend to mention these things here and there in class because I think it's a very useful way of working on fluency from a different perspective. Okay, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Andrea Rial. I'm a certified teacher of English from Argentina. I've been teaching English for many years, and I especially work with adults at pre-intermediate and intermediate level, and I help them become more fluent and confident in English. Okay, having said this, let me tell you something about my past and how this topic that we're going to be working on today has made an impact on myself as a student. Before starting the teacher training college, I was at secondary school, and I also had a couple of issues while doing listening activities. I know it's something that students usually complain about, like, oh my God, we have to do a listening activity. I can't understand what English people speak. And I was on that same boat when I was a student myself. And there was a before and after in my experience when I started working on phonetics at the teacher training college. And specifically, when I started working on these techniques, hi everybody, on these techniques myself as well, with how English people connect sounds when they speak. Okay, so let's get started. Hold on a second. This is what I have to do. Okay. So first of all, let's try to understand what this thing about connected speech is and these techniques that English people apply without even thinking about that. It's not that they have to practice this. It's something that they do absolutely naturally. And even if you ask them, oh, is that a connected speech technique? They will have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, we have to make sure that you know when to apply them. And it has to do with connecting the last sound of a word with the first sound of the following word. And this connection can work in different ways. So a sound can be added, or perhaps a sound might even change, or directly, you might not even pronounce a sound there. For those of you who participated in the first lesson, when we talked about fluency, we described two aspects. The mental aspect of fluency, that in which you need to have phrases, vocabulary, and structures ready to be used, and the physical aspect of fluency. The physical aspect of fluency had to do with the articulation of sounds in a smooth way. Well, this is what we are going to be working on today. The physical aspect of fluency through these techniques of connected speech. In fact, there are 5, but I decided to focus on the 3 most important and relevant ones that you can start practicing right from this very moment. Let's focus on the first one, the easiest one. This one is called linking. It also has other names like catenation or liaison, but this is the simplest term, and it will help you understand or directly go into the idea of joining something. This technique works on or is applied, let's say, when a word finishes in a consonant sound and the next one begins with a vowel sound. Why am I being specific on this, on saying the word sound? Because sometimes a word in English might finish in a vowel, the spelling might finish in a vowel, but the pronunciation ends in a consonant sound. Think of the verb decide. Decide finishes in a consonant sound, but the spelling finishes in the letter E. So here, it's very important to remember that we are working with sounds, not with spelling. And this technique, as we said before, applies to those cases in which a word finishes in a consonant sound and the next one begins with a vowel. And what are we going to do? Okay, we have to connect them. We have to say them, pronounce them as if that was just one word. Take a look at the first example I wrote here. Yes, not at all. If you hear that in a movie, on a listening exercise, it's going to be pronounced all together as not at all. Because what we are doing here is to connect the consonant sound at the end of not with the next vowel sound we have there, at, and the same thing happens with at all. Everything is pronounced in one go. Not at all. For example, imagine you say something like, would you mind repeating what you have just said? And I might say, of course not. Not at all. Okay? So the idea of this class is that you can start pronouncing or articulating this from where you are. Is it home? Is it the office? If nobody is listening to you? But try to repeat these things that I am saying, okay? Another example here with each and every lesson. An English person would not stop at the end of these words. Yeah, look at this. We have a consonant sound vowel. So this is each and. Same thing happens here, and every. So we come out with something like each and every lesson all together. Can you say that? Are you saying it? Yes, are you pronouncing that? Okay, now I've got here 4 sentences starting with this one, and what I will ask you to do is to read the sentences and to try to identify at least one example of linking in each one and to write it in the chat. Look at the first sentence again. Remember, yeah, that the rule was we have to connect words when the last sound in a word is a consonant and the next one is a vowel. So, can you find any examples of linking in this first sentence? In she had an apple for lunch. Is there anything there that you can find? Let's see. Remember, consonant at the end of a word, vowel at the beginning of the next one. Let's see. Okay, we've got one here. She had an apple, but then look at these other parts. And finishes in a consonant sound, and then the other word begins with A. So, had an apple is said all together in one go. She had an apple for lunch. She had an apple for lunch. What about the other sentence? Can you identify any examples of linking here in It's an Amazing Movie? Let's see. Here we have, yes, a consonant sound after it's, and then and begins with a vowel. Same thing here, and amazing. So how should you pronounce this? All together. It's an amazing. It's an amazing movie. Okay? Are you following me? Is it something easy or is it too complicated? Can you do it at home? Okay, let's see. Let's move on to another example here. The one that says it takes a lot of effort. Here we have another example. Okay, good, thank you. Here we have another example of a word finishing in a consonant. Here it says takes, and the other one, So how should you say that? Try it first before I say it. It takes a. And then here, lot finishes in a consonant sound with T, and then we have another vowel there. But that's not it. Look at these. Again, consonant vowel sound. So, lot of effort should be pronounced again in one go. And here, we should also link these sounds. So, this comes something, it should come like something similar to this. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of effort. Okay. And my last question is it easy? Look, all these three words are said together. Is it easy? Okay, all right. Are you tired of training your tongue and your mouth at this point? Let me tell you that this is something that takes practice, but the more you practice it, the more natural it will start being or sounding for you. So perhaps if you're reading something, if you identify some of these words like a consonant at the end of a word and a vowel, try reading that in a loud voice. It's going to help you kind of imitate these and then start saying it more naturally, okay? Remember we said before, this is not something English people think about. They just say it. When they speak, they try to be as efficient as possible in speaking fluently. So this is what they do in order to do that, yeah, to become more efficient. Okay, now let's move on to our next technique, which is called assimilation. And here we're going to make two differences. The first kind of assimilation has to do with one sound kind of affecting the other one. We're going to focus on just one example because there are different subcategories of these. But we're going to see how one sound can affect the next one. And the other kind of assimilation, and my favorite one, is this one. When the sounds affect each other, but they create a new sound. Okay, step by step, as somebody here in Argentina said, we're going to start with the first kind of assimilation, in which, remember, we said one sound affects the other and modifies the other somehow. In this case, the first phrase is want that. What happens when you say that without stopping? Want that. Can you hear the T? Want that. Want that. The T is not pronounced. The tongue goes to the position of the T, but you don't say t, want that. It's want that. Want that. Same thing happens here. Look, with the word good, which finishes in a consonant in this d, good, and then boy. But when you say them together, try at home, in the office, or wherever you are. Say them together. Good boy. Good boy. The D is not articulated. Again, the tongue goes to that position of the D, but you don't say it. Good boy. Okay, so this is one kind of assimilation. A couple of sentences here to practice, examples, okay? Look at the first one. We have it's quite good, but what happens when we say it naturally? It's quite good. Which sound here is not pronounced? Can you identify it? It's quite good. So this t here is not said. Quite good. Okay? Look at this other example. I know that person. But what happens when I say it all together? I know that person. I know that person. Again, which sound is not pronounced here? The T again. So I know that person. I know that person. You don't say it. The T is assimilated in this case. Okay, one more example. The last two here for this kind of assimilation. It must be true. Altogether, it must be true. It must be true. Again, the tongue goes to the position of the T, but you don't pronounce it. Yeah, it must be true. And last but not least, look at this one. Have a good night. Have a good night. Again, as we have been practicing these two sounds, t and d, in this case, here we have that sound, and it's the one that is not pronounced. Have a good night. And if you remember the previous technique we have just seen, what happens here? This finishes in a consonant sound, not the spelling, the sound. Have. So, have a good night. Okay? Before we move on, let me tell you something. Of course, these things or these techniques are going to help you become more fluent, are going to help you articulate sounds in a more natural way. But they are going to help you become better listeners as well. Has it ever happened to you that perhaps you're watching a movie, you're watching a series, people say something, you cannot catch it, and perhaps if you go back, you activate the subtitles in English and you read what they are saying, you say, but I know all those words. Why couldn't I understand what they were saying? Because it's not what they say, it's how they say it. So getting acquainted with these techniques is going to help you become better as speakers, but also you're going to become better listeners. You're going to be able to understand more when you're watching a film, when you're listening to a song, when you're listening to a podcast as well. Okay, after this kind of assimilation, let's move on to my favorite one. In this case, the last sound of a word and the first sound of the following word combine together, but by creating a new sound. Okay, look at this. We have meet you. Think of the expression nice to meet you. But if you say it without stopping, these two words are joined together, and instead of pronouncing the t in meet, you're going to use the ch, as in the word church. Ch. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Again, let's go back to what I said about native speakers doing this naturally. But why do they do that? The idea to speak more smoothly is to have sounds in your mouth that are quite near. If you have a sound that, for example, finishes at the end of your mouth, but the next one is at the back of your mouth, you do, or they do something to kind of connect them. This is what happens here. You have the sound meet, t, is behind your upper teeth, let's say, and you is a sound that goes towards the end of your mouth. So how do they make those sounds come closer? By adding this other sound. Nice to meet you. Okay, same thing happens when a word finishes in a d sound, and the other one also starts with this e, which is not the e in Indian, it's another one, yeah? But that's a topic for another lesson, not for today's lesson. Okay, in this case, when these two words come together, you create another sound, which is similar to this ch, but you have to use your vocal cords. It's a j, as in the word George, yeah? So this comes, or this turns into a, I need some water, hold on a second. There we go. This sound comes out as did you. Instead of saying did you, did you. Okay? Let's give it a try with a couple of sentences here. Look at the first one. It says, don't you agree? Don't you? Are you repeating that? Don't you? Don't you agree? This reminds me of a song, the one that says, "Don't you want me?" Yeah, does it ring a bell? I'm a very bad singer. Excuse me for that. Look at this other one. I want you to know about it. So here we have the sound followed by this you, and you have to combine them. I want you. I want you to know about it. Going back to previous techniques, look at this. About it. What technique is present here? Linking, yeah? Because the word finishes in a consonant sound and the other one begins with a vowel. So, I want you to know about it. Okay. Look at this other one. A typical question when you want to offer something. Would you? Would you? Would you like a drink? Would you like a drink? Okay. There. And last but not least, I need your help. Look at these. Need finishes in d, and the other one begins with this e sound. So this is pronounced as need you. I need your help. I need your help. Okay? This takes practice for us who are not native speakers. But after practicing this over and over again, one day you will start applying these techniques naturally. Okay? Now, I have decided to add this thing here. Perhaps it rings a bell to some of you. It's a post I added to my Instagram page in which I focused on one song by Dua Lipa, this one, Levitating, and the examples she uses of this specific technique, yeah, of this assimilation and the creation of a new sound. If you haven't seen it, okay, you're most welcome to join my Instagram page. Watch that reel and same thing. Copy that, imitate it, okay? So, second technique, done. Let's move on to the third one. Elision. Elision means when something disappears, when you delete something. So in this case, we're going to see that sometimes, depending on certain characteristics in the sentence, there's a sound that is going to disappear completely. And in this case, we're going to focus on two instances, two different cases in which you can drop a consonant sound. In the case of the first group, look, whenever you have three consonant sounds together in English, the one in the middle is not pronounced. How does this go about? Okay, look, it says second and then choice. Second, you have two consonants at the end of that word. Choice, ch, begins with one. So the sound that is going to disappear when you say it in one go is the d. Second choice. Second choice. You don't say second choice. Try to say it that way and you will feel how uncomfortable it is to pronounce that consonant, second choice. It makes you stop. So again, this is the purpose of these techniques, not to stop when you're saying something, when you're speaking. Okay, look at this other example. Most, two consonants at the end of that word, and one consonant at the end of common. Most common. Remember we said that when we have groups of three consonants together, the one in the middle is the one that disappears. So listen to this. Most common. Most common. Yeah, you don't say most common, most common. Again, give it a try and I'm sure you will realize how uncomfortable it feels to pronounce that consonant in the middle. As we practice with the other techniques, we have here some examples and you're going to find elision here as well. Look at this. They missed the train. They missed the train. Where can you find three consonant sounds together? Can you identify that? Look at this. Here, missed, two consonants, st, and the, another one. So the t in miss, missed, is the one that disappears. They missed the train. They missed the train. If you pronounce it, if you say they missed the train, again, it feels awkward. They missed the train. It's much simpler. Perhaps you tell me, oh, but if I don't pronounce the T, I'm saying that verb in present and not in past. Don't forget that these sentences are out of context. Most probably, within a conversation, everybody knows that they are talking about something in the past, and it's something that becomes obvious. This is just something you do regarding or in connection to pronunciation so as to be more effective, to say sounds more smoothly. Look at the other example. He left the party. Yeah. Try to identify the three consonants together. They're here. Yeah. The F, the T, and the at the beginning of that word. So instead of saying he left the party, it's just he left the party. Georgetown. Okay. All right, we're going to see that one later on. Georgetown, but you don't have three consonants there. Georgetown, you have just two. The one in G and the T, Georgetown. Okay? Good example. The other one, he's an old man. Same thing, try to do this before I give you the answer. Try to identify the three consonants. And once you have an idea, let's move on. Here, old man. He's an old man. He's an old man. He's an old man. You see? This is what I meant when I told you that you're going to become a better listener, because you must have studied the word old at an elementary level, and the pronunciation of that word was old with a D at the end. But in connected speech, in a conversation, that old might become old. Oh, okay, old, just like that. Okay, last but not least, here, they live next door. Identify the three consonant sounds. Okay, try to see if you can pronounce them all together without deleting the one in the middle, and then compare that pronunciation to the one in which you delete that sound and feel the difference. So here we have it in next door, three consonants there, and the one that becomes silent is the T. They live next door, next door, next door, next door. Okay? All right, this is one kind of elision. Remember, three consonants together, the one in the middle is not usually pronounced. The other one, have you ever heard the words him, her, he, or his pronounced as im, I, is? Okay, when these words appear within a sentence and they are preceded by a consonant, many English speakers drop the H. And so tell him becomes tell him. Or give her becomes give her. In this case, it's even easier because when we drop the H in her, we connect the two words. Remember this linking technique, the very first one? Giver. Bear in mind that this might happen in the middle of a sentence, not at the very beginning. If you start a sentence with him, her car, him, well, you cannot start with a him, he or his, you cannot drop the H. It can only happen within a sentence. Let's go into the examples here. I took this sentence from another song. You know, I love songs, I love singing, and I think they are a fantastic way of improving your English. I told you about that in my first lesson. Okay, this is from Shrek, the film. Then I saw her face, remember? I'm a believer. Okay, what happens here? When we finish the class, go and check this song, listen to it, and you're going to hear something like, then I saw her face, then I saw her face. And of course there's linking there, yeah, because of the consonant sound and the vowel, and it's not pronounced. Okay, another one. I really like his cooking. In this case, we have the word his there, a consonant preceding that word, so we're going to connect it without pronouncing the H. I really like his cooking. I really like his cooking. Okay? All right. Number three, I'm laughing because I can imagine your faces on the other side, like saying, what? What is this? Okay, here, I think he's a vegetarian. In this case, he is the subject of the verb is, but as it is preceded by a consonant, you can drop it. I think is. I think he's a vegetarian. I think he's a vegetarian. Okay? I don't know if you're taking notes of all these examples, but then you can go back to the video, read them again, and try to say them, try to pronounce them, okay? Last but not least, this other example goes like this. Here we have the H, the consonant in offered. So we're going to say they offered him. They offered him a discount. They offered him a discount. Another linking example there. So this is offered him a. Offered him. They offered him a discount. Can you see now why I'm saying that you're going to become better listeners by knowing about these techniques? Apart from becoming more fluent, of course, yeah, that's our point here in this lesson. But let's say that these techniques have two sides on the same coin, okay? All right, very good. So let's go over what we have just said. We have worked with three connected speech techniques. There are 5, but these are the most common ones, let's say. The others are kind of more complex and at the same time perhaps more natural, okay? So I thought that these were the ones that might be useful for you. Linking. Remember that linking is what you have to apply when a word finishes in a consonant sound and the other one begins in a vowel sound. Remember the example we worked with was not at all, not at all. Yeah? Okay, the second technique here was assimilation. Remember we worked with 2 different kinds of assimilation and we said there are more, yeah? One in which one sound blends together with the other, like the words or the phrase good boy. Remember we said it becomes good boy, yeah? Or that person, yeah? That was one kind of assimilation. And the other one, my favorite one, the one in which you create a new sound when you connect 2 words. Remember, you have to use that technique when a word finishes in a d sound or a t sound, and the other one begins with this specific e. Yes? Remember I said it's not the one in Indian, it's the one in your university. Okay? For example, if we think of Dua Lipa's song, got you, she says, so I got you, and need you becomes need you, okay? And last but not least, we worked with elision and 2 cases of elision. When you have 3 consonants together, remember we said that the one in the middle disappears, yeah? You don't pronounce that consonant. For example, another word is coming to my mind, the verb asked, yeah? In past, the verb ask, yes, asked. There you have 3 consonants in one word, not even being connected to another one. In that case, asked. That there, as, the s is not pronounced. So you say asked, asked, okay? And the other case of elision, when you have the words he, him, her, or his preceded by a consonant and you don't pronounce the H. Tell him to come, for example. Okay? Great. Now you know all the theory, you know the examples, but perhaps you might be wondering, how can I start putting this into practice? What can I do to internalize these techniques? Okay, my recommendation is for you to do as many listening activities as you can. You might listen to movies, series, songs, podcasts, whatever, yeah, or even listening activities if you're taking English lessons. So try to listen as much as possible. Then listen again, but this time either use the subtitles, take a look at the lyrics, If it's a listening activity in class, ask the teacher to send you the tape script and listen while you are reading. This time, pay close attention to the way speakers connect the words. And perhaps that might even help you if, I don't know, you missed something in the listening activity, and then by reading those words, you might say, ah, so this is what the speaker said. And you might even discover the reason why you couldn't catch it when you listened to that, if it's one of these techniques, okay? And then imitate that. Copy as much as you can. If you enjoy singing, it's a wonderful way of putting all these techniques into practice naturally, because by imitating the way a singer sings, you are already applying linking, assimilation, elision, absolutely everything. Another thing you might do is to record yourself. Yeah, you might just repeat something you have listened to and record yourself, listen to that, check if you're using this technique, if you need perhaps more practice, okay? All right, we have come to the end of our lesson today. I hope you have enjoyed it, laughed a little bit, and taken something for you to start doing right after this class. Remember, our aim here is to become more fluent, and fluency is not just speaking non-stop. It has many different aspects that little by little we're going to be covering to help you become a more fluent and confident speaker of English. So, thank you very much for being there. My apologies for those instances in which I decided to sing something in English. My students already know I do that all the time in class. And they just cover their ears and that's it. Okay, so thank you very much. Hope to see you again next time, next Wednesday at 11 on the same channel at the same time. And don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you find these lessons useful, to follow me on my Instagram account there, Andrea Rial. Okay, I post different tips and ideas for you to become more fluent in English. People, thank you very much. Take care and have a very nice day. Bye-bye.